Yeah. I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure it's not the same because
Yeah, that's.
Oh, yeah, I thought too.
That's a true surprise to me.
very few true surprises left.
They're gonna go far enough that they're gonna maintain the road there, so they're still maintaining the same road.
Hey, Diane.
In the field, they just say it's ledge here, so I need to. They put a big ledge on there.
November 5th meeting information.
I want to see what they do with the blasting.
There'd be some detours.
That's when I came up.
Getting started.
I won't tell.
Council meeting was moved. I said, oh, that's last week.
Just in case, come with the dirt.
Have to make a note of that.
Scaring me like that. Walter asked Jody directly. I didn't know. I usually do. I just missed it for some reason.
You know, it's actually from that.
I'll call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get the roll call, please, Barbara?
Council Garrison,
Present.
Council Lunt,
Here.
Council McTevier,
Yeah.
Council Bickford,
Yeah.
Council Ward,
Here.
Council Pesky,
Here.
Council Brunel,
Here.
And the first item, please, Twyla.
is good news and recognition.
All right. I know we have some today. Would you like to start, Diane?
Sure. The first one is for Twyla. She has just been elected the second vice president of the Maine Town City Clerks Association. So congratulations to Twyla, and that's next week.
I'm looking forward to serving.
And as I said when you told me yesterday, it's not just great for Twyla, it's really a feather in the cap of the town of Lisbon because she really does such a wonderful job, and we're really fortunate to have her. Thank you, Twyla. And anyone else? Roger?
I've got two. I went to a meeting today at 9:30, and the bridge has started. So, it's gonna be, it's gonna be slow, but they're right into it, and all the contractors were there, and DOT, and everybody. So it will be going, like I said, it started today. And then the other one was, I went with the planning board last week to a site walk on 196 to a new business. And it's gonna be a greenhouse that grows lettuce in a very different way. And it's gonna be very interesting. I'm very excited about it. And I think it should be very, if it works, which I hope it does, it will be very interesting and very good for the town.
Thank you, Roger. Greg, did you have something?
Yes, ma'am. Not sure it's exactly good news, but the football team played a hard-fought game against the Raiders. Unfortunately, it came out on the short end, 6-7. It was a game of third downs. Unfortunately, they didn't quite get as many as the other team. They had a nice turnover at the half, but unfortunately, with only 21 seconds left, that didn't really mean too much. And I guess they blinked first and had a turnover in the fourth quarter, and the Raiders were able to run out the clock. So it was a hard-fought game. Great job by all, especially missing their starting quarterback. And better luck next year to them. They got some good players. They seem to get there every year. So hopefully they'll be back there again next year.
I've heard a lot of good things about the team in that game in particular. It was not only well fought, but the members of that football team have a very good reputation for their excellent sportsmanship, and that's something that they can take with them all their lives, and it's something to be proud of.
Unfortunately, Kyle Orgette suffered a torn ACL, I believe, in the previous game in a front term. And I guess his prognosis right now, they're just hoping he's going to be able to play baseball, because he plays year-round sports. So I wish him all the best, because I hate seeing any kid get hurt.
Definitely. Thank you, Greg. Anyone else? I have one piece of information. As many of you know, I've been involved with the Career Development Center at the library, and they have new winter hours. They'll be posted at the library and online, but in November, they'll be open on the 17th, 18th, 21st, and 25th from 8:30 to 1. And then in December, the 2nd, 4th, 9th, 11th, 12th, 23rd, and 30th from 8:30 to 1. Some really great news. Beginning in January of 2015, a volunteer consultant for job seekers will be available every Tuesday from 8:30 to 12:30. And anyone who's had to go ahead and use some of those kinds of resources knows that a consultant can really get you a lot further, a lot faster, and so it's really great for local folks. At that time of year, a lot of folks who've had to work seasonal jobs, it's really nice to know that the Career Center is in place solidly and are ready to go for the spring. Okay, next item please, Twyla.
We have no public hearings. It would be audience participation for agenda items.
Okay, at this time, anyone who'd like to speak on an item that appears on the agenda? Mr. Fillmore?
Larry Fillmore from Lisbon. On the agenda tonight, we have the purchasing policy. There are two statements that I would like to see added to this policy. The first one is, any purchase 5K or more must be reported to the council by the department head. So this is because department heads go to the state auction, purchase vehicles, and they don't come back and let the council know that they purchased those vehicles. So you people are left in the dark. And I think it should be that it's important that the council be made aware of these transactions and these acquisitions to the town. So I encourage you to add that statement in. Also in this new policy, we have credit cards. I believe that we should, in the policy, current policy, it says the finance officer will set credit limits. I think that a maximum of under 5K on the credit card should be the maximum limit. This will eliminate any chance of anybody not using the formal bid process, okay, which requires for over 5K. This is just, again, another check and balance in the system, okay? Now, moving on to the Moxie Festival. I'm terribly confused with the Positive Change Lisbon's mission statement. They're supposed to do all this to help the community and all this and that. And yet, when I looked at the revenue, they didn't donate anything to the festival. However, we paid out over $1,800 to Positive Change Lisbon. Entertainment, the downtown band. I don't understand which side they're on. Are they on our side? Because they're taking money from us instead of helping create it. The final thing is, I need somebody to explain to me in the expense part of it, $50 reimbursement for funeral arrangements. Did we have somebody we lost during this Moxie Festival? Because I didn't hear about that. But I can't figure out why $50 for funeral arrangements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fillmore. Anyone else? Mr. Coney?
Roger Cody, Lisbon Falls. In the last week or two, we've had an awful lot of controversy in this town that I think is kind of not in the best interest of people of the town. We had a couple of councilors speaking out against the new gym and the way the process was going. And, you know, as a council, in the last year, I've seen things like the asphalt reclaimer bid. We put something out to bid, opened the bids, and then turned around and bought it from somebody else that didn't even bid on the project. I don't think that we should be knocking a group such as Mr. Green's group working on this project because they know things about the project that all of us don't know. They're firsthand, especially the general public, and they're knocking a group of people that have taken a building like the Lisbon High School that was a decrepit building. In most of our opinion, it was pretty bad shape. They fixed it up. They've done an outstanding job. They've fixed up the ball field. They've added us a track. The town taxpayers have gone along with them to help them out. And if their group, considering building the gym, feels that it was in our better interest for the town of Lisbon to go with the bid that they chose, I don't think we as citizens or council should even begin to put them down in any way, shape, or form and put our trust in them. We trust them with our kids on things that are the most dear to us is our children. And we send them to them every day, and we take what they do, and we thank them and appreciate what they do, and then turn around and doubt them over an issue of a few dollars. I think that it's not necessary. And as far as the school board, Rick Green is concerned, I think they've done an excellent job, and I think we ought to go behind them and push them, help them along, and deal with this the best that we can without publicly putting them down in any way, shape, or form. That's my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cody. Anyone else? Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Dorothy Fitzgerald, Lisbon Falls. I too am asking why $50 reimbursement for funeral expenses out of the Moxie Festival expenses. I don't understand it. I've gone through the expenses and the profits. T-shirt sale profits, $10,530. That is business taking away from a local business. The Moxie Festival is supposed to be promoting local businesses and not taking business away from them. You know, everyone is criticizing Frank Anicetti because his building looks so bad. Maybe some of that profit could have helped him to fix up and paint his building. All of these businesses are paying real estate taxes, they're paying personal property taxes, they're getting hit hard with everything, and I think they should be helped and not the town working against them. Secondly, I'm wondering why we're paying $32,500 for someone to do something that Amanda Bunker and the planning board has been working on for 3 years. More meetings to replicate what Ms. Bunker has been doing. I read all of the information, blight, crumbling sidewalks, roadsides in poor condition. This is what I've been telling you people for 2 years, that this looks awful. And now we need an outside company and we're paying them $32,500 to tell us that something that we should have known and have known all along. I just don't understand it. The school gym, the counselors have said that they were voted in because the public trusted them to make right decisions. And I think that the school committee feels the same way. We voted them in to make right decisions, and we don't know all of the story on the gym, and it's not right for us to complain and make criticism when we don't know the full story. We entrusted them to do the right thing. Also, going back to the Moxie Festival, this is the season, and I know I don't want to overstep my time. This is the season for craft fairs. There are a lot of local crafters, a lot of local craft fairs, and even in Lewiston, the Cora Shrine Temple is going to be having a festival of lights with a lot of crafters there. It was in a supplement in Sunday's paper. I think it might be a good idea for somebody here in town to make up an application or something, go to these craft fairs and pass out these flyers asking people of these crafters or suggesting offering them to participate in the Moxie Festival. It would give them an opportunity to make some money, and it would make the Moxie Festival a more of a hometown affair. Thank you.
Thank you, Dot. Anyone else? Okay. Next item, please, Twyla.
Is audience participation response?
Okay, Mr. Fillmore started asking about the purchasing policy, making suggestions for the purchasing policy, and I appreciate that, Mr. Fillmore. I'm not sure whether those kinds of questions have already been addressed, so it's good to bring it to our attention, and we appreciate it. Regarding Moxie Festival and the PCL involvement and your questions related to that, I might suggest that you approach the leadership at PCL. I have found them approachable when I have questions, and I would suggest that they may be able to offer you some insights. You, as well as Mrs. Fitzgerald, mentioned the funeral reimbursement, also t-shirt sales, other issues related to Moxie Festival. I think we'll wait until we get that presentation regarding the Moxie Festival report to see if we can answer some of those questions along the way. Because I'm sure we'll go over it. Mr. Cody, you asked us to consider the controversy over the school gym. We'll have some input from Mr. Green and from counselors. As chair, I have heard from counselors. I've heard from individuals who've approached me as a counselor at large. And I urge people to understand that although we as counselors try to keep our personal issues out of it, I do know that many residents and taxpayers have approached counselors and with questions about the school gym bid. And we have across the board referred people to the school committee and the superintendent, and we'll reiterate that constantly. But I think it's important to remember that counselors are elected by constituents to represent them. And when counselors make individual statements as individual counselors, because I've had to make that differentiation for myself, I see that it's difficult to do that. But if you have enough constituents telling you, you represent me, you need to help me, then if you are a counselor who wants to do a good job, you'll likely try to do that. I think that the counselors who've had input have been very careful with how they've discussed how they feel and how their constituents feel. And we have all urged each other consistently to maintain our stand as a council, understanding that we have, there's nothing the council can do about a school committee decision and vice versa. So, with that said, I think Councilor Pesky wanted to add something.
Thank you, Dot, and thank you to Roger for voicing your concerns about councilors speaking out against this project. I will say that I am one of those councilors that you're referencing. I, along with Chairman Ward, which I'm sure she will elaborate later, did go to the press conference at the Portland Residency on Monday with the Associate General Contractors, and as I said, Chairman Ward will elaborate on that later. But it's really important, I want you to understand that I know I have represented you, Dot, I've represented you, Roger, on issues that you've had. And these are issues that my phone is blowing up over. And these are issues, this is an issue that is important. This is an issue that is detrimental to this community, in my opinion. And I will continue to speak out on this project. I will continue my acts in this. It's something that I do not agree with, and I will not stop.
Thank you, Councilor Pesky. And again, I know that we have a divided council in how we feel about this, our personal decisions about how we feel about it, as well as what's been communicated to us by our constituents. And again, I know that Councilor Pesky is fully aware of his legal what legally we as council can do and cannot. I respect him for voicing the opinion that his constituents have asked him to voice. Some councilors are more vocal than others, I understand that. We have to maintain, we continue to support the school committee in their hard work, and sometimes we disagree with them and sometimes they disagree with us. But we're all working toward the same goals, and we need to keep that in mind at all times. We will hear from Superintendent Green later, and I think that this will be very positive to hear from him, and I'm looking forward to hearing that. So finally, the planning board issue, Dot, I didn't address that for you yet. I haven't, this is the first I hear from someone that we shouldn't do it this way, so Amanda Bunker's here tonight, and we'll be discussing this. So again, I think that in our discussion as we move forward, that you may find your answers when we get to that point on the agenda, and if you don't, I do urge you to contact council or the town manager with your questions. Next item, please, Twyla.
Is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have an item removed may do so now. Order 2014-241 to approve the minutes of November 5th, 2014.
Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion.
And a second.
And second.
All those in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Next item, please, Twyla.
Council orders, ordinances, and resolutions. Order 2014-242 to amend Chapter 70 zoning ordinance Division 5 signs. This is the first reading. Roll call votes required.
Okay. Now this is a technical first reading because we have all looked at this already previously.
This is the second first reading.
Second first
To
reading.
clarify it.
Do we have any questions from council on the changes on the?
I do have two. Looking at the parks and gardens on Route 196, under duration, says directional weight finding only put up on days when actual event happening. I just want to make sure that's changed to event happening. I believe that's what it should be. And my other question is on number 4, town park and garden properties shall be limited to 1 sign per property on a first come first basis. And I just want to make sure that is for the application process and not someone just putting a sign up without the application process. anyone find that even to event?
Page 33. Oh, by the way, thank you to whoever put all these page numbers.
It was a big help.
Jody did that.
Yeah. Anything from anyone else? Is there, last time we talked about this, we had
These are the
code
criteria.
enforcement, but we
That's not part of
don't
it.
need to worry about that today.
Other than that, I'm good.
Any questions for the planning boards here in case representatives from the planning board are here, in case we have questions for them? Did the planning board want to elaborate on anything or explain? Okay. We've all looked at this before, so we should be pretty familiar with it. Okay. Berla has.
The part where the criteria that would be established, I still don't see where that is. Is there going to be a list? Is there a list of the criteria for those signs in part 2, section 2?
Page, Brilla?
On my, it's 16.
Oh, she's looking at the ordinance, it's a separate document, right?
Yeah,
That's
criteria
why
is not
she's
in the
looking at the
ordinance.
ordinance, it's not in the ordinance.
What?
It's not in the ordinance, the criteria is the separate document.
Right.
Okay, so you're gonna vote on it, not knowing what the criteria is?
We have the criteria.
You have the criteria.
It's,
We're not requesting necessarily that you vote on the criteria at this time.
it's in the packet.
You want to,
for all.
the planning board's comfortable with it, but.
Verla, when you talk about criteria, what is it you're exactly talking about? Because I'm reading in here where it talks about the maximum square footage.
Well, it says defining the criteria for approval and outlining appropriate standards such as number, sign, design, and placement of temporary signage in the town parks and gardens. Like, how big is the sign gonna be? It says a size, but I don't know what size that is. But Diane says that's already been
Verla,
established.
do you have this document?
I copied this off the agenda that was posted, that was sent to me from Jody's office.
Yeah, in the packet on page 33, I believe it addresses it.
I don't have that, I didn't have this sheet. I didn't need the same information after that.
I'll send that to you, Marla.
Do you want my page? You can have it.
That's fine.
You can get it after, but that way you'll have it on hand. We also have a copy of the application. I found that useful. Okay, any further questions, council? So this will be a roll call vote to accept the first reading of the sign ordinance. To adopt, okay. Do we have a motion to adopt the first reading?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Very good.
As long as we have the typos correct.
Okay, with the changes? All right. This will be a roll call vote, we're ready?
Counselor Garrison?
Yes.
Counselor Bickford?
Yes.
Counselor Ward?
Yes.
Counselor Pesky?
Yes.
Counselor Mativier?
Yes.
Counselor Brunel?
Yes.
And Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
There's 7 nays, 0 nays, order passed.
Thank you. And the next item?
Order 2014-243, repeal chapter 62, site plans, section 62-169 signs. This is the first reading, roll call vote is required.
Okay, I think we clarified last time we discussed this, that we're repealing this so that we can have the other instead, correct?
Yes, and we waited until you adopted this one.
Right. Okay, do we have any discussion? Or questions, okay? Do we have a motion to repeal?
I'll make the motion.
Second that.
And a roll call vote.
Council Lunt,
Yes.
Council Brunel,
Yes.
Councilman Metivier,
Yes.
Council Pesky,
Yes.
Council Ward,
Yes.
Council Bickford,
Yes.
and Council Garrison.
Yes.
There's 7 yeas, no nays, so it passed.
Thank you, Twyla.
You're welcome.
All right, the next item, please.
Order 2014-244, engineering and design scope for CDBG.
Okay, and we have someone to present that for us?
I think I'll have Amanda.
Oh,
Yeah.
Alright, so we put together and discussed with, Mandy and Oliver Associates exactly kind of the scope of the engineering services. To clarify, this funding, which is the 32,000, is to pay for engineering and design services for the improvements, not for the, I think it sounded like Dorothy might have been confused with the blight designation, which is a separate thing. I'm not sure. But this is to pay for what we hope will be our successful grant application next spring, if we are fortunate enough. We talked with the committee, the 196 committee, about a couple of different options. You know, it's gonna be a limited pot. We're gonna be under 300,000 probably, for this grant. We're at 260, I think, for the current match. So we will need to work with the engineer to make sure we have the right project for the fit in the budget. And we wanna we decided we wanna try to maximize streetscape, sidewalks, pedestrian, and do the whole thing in a smaller area rather than doing just some of the improvements over a larger area. And the focus is going to be right in the area of Millers and the Davis Street intersection. Big reason for that is that'll be where, of course, the trail is currently scheduled to end at Davis Street with a new sidewalk. We also are anticipating looking at the future design for the intersection at Main Street, and we don't want to be doing any actual streetscape work or improvements in that area because they're just gonna tear it up if they're gonna be doing it. I don't know if I really have anything more than that, but happy to take questions. So this is also, one more thing, this is also a really good deal, by the way. They're giving us a lot for this budget. I was pretty pleased. They're gonna take us all the way through bidding on that budget, so.
So, can you, just, once again, how much are we committing in order to get how much? Put it in black and white. What are we committing and
We're
for what?
committing 30, I believe her 32.5 was their proposal, which is well within, the funds that Tracy has, that we're gonna ask to be allocated for this, but Tracy has that in a separate location. This is not the same money as, the $50,000 match. It's a separate pot of money that's, originally that came from, I believe, CDBG sources.
Right, and we had to make sure it stayed within that, those
Right,
CDBG.
so we're still using those funds
Right.
in an approved, allowed way. We just need to allocate them, and I think that will be Tracy's.
I just wanted to clarify for people that this isn't money that we're taking out of the budget somewhere else and
No,
putting in.
this
This
is
is money that
Money that
was
we,
for projects.
yes, money that's apparently been kind of sitting there waiting to be used,
Mhm.
but kind of got lost track of, I guess, at some point. But,
Any questions from council?
I do have a couple full of questions tonight. This is kind of a mix with, I think, a couple questions for you and a couple questions for Tracy. Looking at the proposal from Oliver Associates, on the page 45 of the fee structure, it says fee structure for providing services listed above will be as follows. And it says, as requested, the site survey for the area between Union and Oak Street on Route 96 is priced separately. That threw me for a loop when I was reading this. That area is not going to be part of this project. If I'm reading into it correctly, do we know how much this portion would be? Well, I guess I'm wondering, are we just separating this proposal?
That's the survey work?
Correct.
Okay.
We were looking at separating, go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, we weren't sure if they would be able to include the survey amount, the amount of cost for the survey in what we knew was in the budget. So we had, there was like 35,000 available, we weren't sure if that would cover all the engineering, all the way through bidding, and the survey work as well. So we wanted them to price it separate in case we needed to look at cutting things differently. But they came in under what we expected and included that survey in there. So that's only referencing that we wanted a separate cost for what the survey, the actual right-of-way survey would cost. But it's not gonna be an issue because they came in.
So that is the 4,300 we see
That is
for
the
the top number.
4,300. So
Okay,
we
I
don't
just
have
wanted-
to find that, we don't have to allocate that from a separate source because the current account has enough funding for that.
I just want to make sure you weren't asking for this because you didn't have enough money in one budget and we're gonna come back
No.
in 2 months and ask for an additional
No.
portion, so, okay.
We should not have to according to this.
Perfect. And then we look at the 32,500 for the cost, and then in the CDBG housing loan fund, we had the $35,415.19. Will the remaining $2,900 just stay set aside in that account?
Yes,
For use on another CDBG project.
correct.
And then when I was reading let me just find it again, your summary, Amanda, of what the future looks like for us, your update.
The memo, yep.
Yep. I found this very helpful, so thank you.
Sorry if it's so long.
You mentioned the allocation of $20,000 for the sidewalk, which won't be used before spring, so that can be part of our match. So with that $20,000, that would bring the grant total to $280,000, is that correct?
280, yes, that sounds right. That's what I put in there, right?
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, because it's, that, we can add on that 20,000. Total project is 280, but it technically includes $20,000 worth of sidewalk on Davis Street, so you might count it back to 260 is actually what we spend on additional.
And so we have the $20,000 for the match, and we had $50,000 already set aside for the match, so it's a total of $70,000 match. Is that what
70
you're looking
local
for?
match.
There you go, so far.
So
I
far.
noticed you want 5 more
So
thousand.
far. I'm not losing hope that there's a little bit
Okay.
more to be found somewhere that we're already, again, leveraging money we already know we're spending. You know, that's the name of the game. And it's still a big number, but not to take it lightly, but we're only $30,000 away from the full project amount. And I don't take that $30,000 lightly, but there may be additional ways that we can look to money we're already spending in that project area for other things, Ryan's work or otherwise, that we can use towards match, so.
And then my last thing I have is on the page 46, the back, line 2, it says, if the project does not receive funding in April of 2014, just want to make sure we change that to 15.
Okay, I don't know what page that is, because I don't have the.
It's the last page of the proposal.
No, right, it says
Of the
April
Alber
two-
proposal?
Yeah.
It says April 2014 in the body.
Okay. We can
I think it's
update
just a typo.
that. Yep,
Yeah. I just want to make sure we got that changed.
okay. Oh, yeah, very nice.
Okay, any more questions from council? All right. The recommendation is that we approve the scope of services for the Route 196 engineering and design streetscape improvement by Ulver Associates and authorize the reallocation of $32,500 in funds from the CDBG Housing Loan Fund to an account designated for Route 196 engineering, design, streetscape improvement scope of services. The current balance of the CDBG Housing Loan Fund is $35,415.19, so there's plenty in there for that. Do we have a motion to accept the recommendation?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
And I do have one more question.
Sure.
When I was reading the proposal, we just talked about the 20,000 set aside for the sidewalk. And this, I think this is more for the council. When I was reading that, I thought that Mr. Layton came in front of us and with additional money from ABCOG, and we had to pitch in X amount of dollars for the additional cost of the project.
30,000.
I thought that we had took the 20,000 off of the sidewalk because that was going to be included in that. I went through my notes and I couldn't find anything, so either I'm dreaming or, does anyone remember that conversation?
My recollection, or my understanding, is that match for AvCog's money only got to the pump station. The 20,000 is for the pump station to Lisbon Street.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
that's where, that's the other local match that we had to already put, it's technically already been spent. I mean, that's already out there, things are being done. So the local match that we haven't spent yet is only that 20,000 from the pump station to the end of the street. And that's what will be in the bank at the time of our letter of intent and we can use that.
Perfect. I remember that all clear now.
All right. We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Thank you very much.
I
I
think I'm just
know.
gonna sit here.
And the next item, please, Twyla.
Order 2014-245, set public hearing date for slum and blight designation under CDBG program.
Okay, so this is a separate issue from, the, right, okay, so did you wanna go ahead and,
I'll just give you the 1 minute spiel. This I told you guys was coming. This is the official paperwork. We have to make this designation in order to apply for the CDBG funds. I also included to go with your packets the section from the downtown plan, which inventories and documents our existing blight conditions in the Falls area. So this, again, I know for some folks in some communities, looking at the language of this official designation can be
it's pretty nasty.
That's not
Nobody
very
wants to
nice.
have to be said about them.
No, when you look at the actual language, but I really encourage you and the community to not get hung up on those words because ultimately we have acknowledged there are blight, there is blight, there are poor conditions, and making this designation official gets us the opportunity to fix it and not have these conditions anymore. If there are questions, all what we need now is we need to set an official public hearing and have that on the books and have that included with our designation, the advertising and attendance at the public workshop, our public hearing. And I think we're suggesting the second meeting in December, because Diane won't be at the first one, so.
Okay.
And if you have questions about this, or want us to provide any other information about this, let us know now or before that meeting, and we'll bring stuff to that meeting, so.
Do we have any questions for Amanda right now? So, what we need to do is schedule a public hearing and notice for the slum and blight designation, for December 16th. Do we have to vote on this?
You can, if you like.
Is there anyone not, who doesn't wish to set a hearing?
Amanda, could you explain why we're doing this, just so the public knows? What's the purpose of filing for a slum and blight area?
In order to be eligible for the Community Development Block Grant Funds, which is HUD source, Federal Housing Urban Development, the community either has to qualify under low to moderate income levels, which Lisbon doesn't. We have higher incomes than the state's requirements. Or you need to officially designate a blighted area with blighted conditions according to the specific standards. So therefore, if we want to be able to get these funds, we have to make this designation, but it is very much consistent with not only the 196 vision plan, corridor plan, but also the recently updated downtown plan. And it's going to fix those issues.
Right, this is tied to being able to get the money
Yes,
from the other contract, right?
we
don't do this, we couldn't do
can't
that.
even apply to get any money to fix the problems if we don't make this designation.
Okay, and when we have that hearing, will we have specific areas designated? Is that?
Yes, it will be, I think it should have been included in the excerpt from the downtown plan. We have already outlined the area. There's both a sort of a circle
It'll just be
diagram,
more
block
specific.
diagram, but we also have the official outline of the downtown area. So we're really using those maps to designate our area. And I should note that we'll probably, between now and a hearing, be submitting a little bit of this for preliminary review with DECD, just to make sure our documentation will meet their needs when it comes time to the application. So they don't have any issues with how we designated things.
Okay. All right. Is everyone in favor of setting a hearing for the 16th to discuss urban blight? Everyone in favor? Okay. We'll go ahead and set that hearing for the 16th, 12.
Okay.
Thanks again, Amanda.
Yep.
And the next item, please.
Order 2014-246, the PSAP contract.
All right. Diane? This is the annual renewal for the PSAP, which is, we contract through Androscoggin County Sheriff's Department for PSAP services, which is the 911 service that they provide us for emergency calls for police and fire. We have to pay an annual fee of $18,018, I believe it is, and you do have that in your budget. That went through the budget process. And there is an annual agreement that the town manager has to sign. I'm not sure if this has come to you in the past, but I would prefer that contracts of this magnitude come to the council to authorize me to sign. I just got it not too long ago. I didn't get it in time for the last meeting in October, because it does have a November 1st deadline to let them know if we're not gonna contract with them. And if we don't let them know by that time, it's an automatic renewal to contract with them. So I guess tonight, all I need from you is When did you
permission.
say when's the deadline?
November 1st.
It already passed.
Isn't today the 18th?
Yeah, all right, that's what I'm saying. I didn't get
Okay.
it in time for the meeting in October in
Okay.
case you wanted to do something different, but
All right, and you know
it's an
what?
automatic renewal, but.
I know PSAP is confusing for people because it has to do with 911, but we know we have our own comm center here. Can you just explain for folks who might not
Right.
understand what that
The
means?
local comm center, local dispatch, they're not a true PSAP. They don't do the emergency dispatching. They're not a public service answering point for the emergency, the EMD, or the medical part of it. When you have a call that comes through for medical services, you have to be specifically trained to do that. So there's only a certain number of public service answering points in the state. And if you don't have a local dispatch, you need to contract with one. Or if your local dispatch doesn't have that training in order to be designated as that answering point. So ours is not, it's just a regular local dispatch. So the 911 calls go into the county. If it's a cell phone, it goes to the state police, and then it's redirected back to our local dispatch and then dispatched out.
Okay. Any questions from council?
I did talk with Diane earlier because I originally thought it might be beneficial for us to search other surrounding agencies that have PSAPs and see if we can get a better deal than 18,000. But later I had read the November 1st deadline, so I think during the budget process it might be beneficial for us to check with Brunswick or surrounding agencies and see if we can get a better deal. You know, everyone's looking for business right now, especially with declining revenue. So it's a little late now, but I think we can do something, try to do something different later.
We may want to ask the county too, if we go down that road, why they charge separately for this. Because we do pay a county tax bill, and the dispatch is included in that tax
I
bill.
mean, it's not just because they hate us?
No, I don't know, I just think that, you know, why would they be charging? And I know some places do, some counties do, some counties don't, because it's already built into your tax bill. So we may want to ask that question, why they are charging us an additional amount, a per capita amount.
I think those are two good
When we
points.
are paying taxes.
Okay, good. So we have the notes coming for our next budget season also. So the recommendation is that we authorize the town manager to sign the PSAP contract in the amount of $18,018 for PSAP services from January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2015.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
And the next item, Twyla.
Order 2014-247, the purchasing policy.
Okay, you have that attached. I'm just gonna go over the highlights, but I do wanna say that we did, present this policy to the Finance Committee, and they did vote to approve it as presented. On page 62, what we want to do under section 86-32, small purchases, because of the cost of doing business now compared to 7 years ago when this was last updated, we felt that we need to up that limit from 500 to 1,000. And then also under 86-33, the informal bidding process, we would like to increase that from 500 to 1,000 as well. And under 86-34, formal bidding, number B, it stated that we had a bid proposal form. We don't have a bid proposal form. Depending on what type of bids that we are soliciting, we may generate a specific type of form to go with that bid, but we don't have a form that we use, a standard form. So we want to remove that language and just put as deemed necessary by the town manager. In some instances, we won't have a form, and lots of times we will. And then if you go to page 66, under number 11, assessing, we're going to remove the assessing clerk because we no longer have a clerk. She's been appointed the assessor. Under number 16, we want to remove the teen center coordinator from the purchase orders, from allowing them to sign purchase orders. Section 8642, distribution of purchase orders, we're striking the current language and replacing it with the language that the policy that we use right now for the distribution of purchase orders. It's a little bit different. And the final one is we've added a policy or added credit card use. Since we do issue credit cards to certain department heads and the manager, we felt that we should have a policy in place. And to speak to Larry's comment about the maximum allowable limit, the highest limit is the card that I hold, and that's $4,000. Then we have two department heads that have a limit of $2,000, and all the rest are $1,000 limits. And that's what we have currently in place, and I don't see a need for it to be any higher than that. So it's well underneath the 5,000. I do want to say that this policy really works well, and the department heads are adhering to it, and I don't see any further need to make any additional changes at this point. So much of the revamping on this policy is bringing it in line with current practice. Exactly. Do we have any questions from council? I'm just looking back at my notes from earlier this evening. Mr. Fillmore had also suggested a purchasing policy that required expenses of $5,000 or more report to the council regarding transactions and acquisitions. So I think it brings up a good point, though, whether it's in the policy or inferred by the policy. When that is, something $5,000 or more is a sizable purchase. Do we have something in place right now, or should we make it formal, or is, I think because of the dollar, I know it sounds like a large amount, but for the day-to-day business that we do, 5,000 it's large in the areas of us doing business, so we'd be coming to you all the time. We can certainly print you a detailed report of the expenses that are going to show all of those, but if you want to do that, we're going to be. Well, it's a cost of doing business. That's my hesitation is, are we going to be inundated? It's an administrative nightmare. Mm-hmm. And we can certainly give you that detail is available when we print a detailed budget report.
You actually see summaries, you don't see details, but we can provide you the details monthly if you like that, an electronic.
So an example of a $5,000 purchase, that would be an everyday purchase for a department. You know, if I spend $5,000, I sit at home and agonize
Right,
about it for
and-
3 days first, so.
I know, and, you know, we could have a bunch of things and the invoice can total 5,000. It may not be any one thing on that invoice.
Okay.
Especially with Public Works, and, you know, it would, to me, it would be an administrative nightmare for us.
Okay.
I just think that-
I can see that. I can see that.
I can see where Mr. Fillmore was going with that. In the one time, there were 2 trucks bought at a state auction, that were not brought to the council to even let us know. And I think for me, I do see where Mr. Fillmore's coming from, I do see from the administrative side. I think it would be nice that any item purchased over $5,000 is provided for us in a packet summary. Because anything over 10,000 comes to us anyway, so if we just saw, oh, we went to the state auction and bought a new truck, that'd be nice to know instead of seeing it on the road and be like, where'd we get that from? Because it wasn't, part of the budget process.
Yeah,
I
I
can-
agree with Dylan, I'd like to at least be notified of it, we don't have to
Right.
take a formal vote on it.
Yeah, make
Go
it a
groups.
single item
Right,
purchase rather than.
let's see the notification of
So
it.
do you want to add that into the policy, or do you just,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, I would.
Where would you put it? Where would you put it, Bill?
under informal bidding?
Let me go back to this.
Okay.
Knowing that.
No, formal
Formal
bidding,
bidding.
just notification to council of it,
Bottom is 62.
something, yeah.
Just provide you with
Section
documentation of
8634.
anything.
I think the idea of it being a single item purchase is key though, Diane. I'm with you when, if you were buying office supplies for 5 departments all at once, so you could get a better deal for them, I don't wanna know how many paper clips you bought.
I had it to the end of 8634.
So provide, council with documentation of single item purchases in excess of 5,000 purchases.
5 to 10,000, because 10,000 we have to be
Right.
already down anyway.
Yep, okay.
Now, I noticed that it says here, purchases with contracts in excess of $5,000 shall require the use of bid process in this section. We want to add in some language there that would allow for that, like buying at a state auction where you don't have a chance to bid because you're buying at an auction rather than a bid process. It's basically, right now, this policy says you really can't do that. Kind of, bending the rules to allow it to happen. I think it'd be better to find a way to, put it in the policy to allow that. Other towns must do it because other people bid on those things too.
That's a good point.
We just add a line there that, purely at like auctions with authorization from the town manager, up to, I don't know, what would be a reasonable ceiling there.
Well, that would be in excess, yeah, but in excess of
Still,
5,000.
yeah,
What-
it's not our
Do you
normal
want us to
process.
work on something and bring it back?
I'd like to see
Yeah.
something there, just to
I think that's a good
formalize it, so we
idea.
don't have it every year, every time it comes up, it becomes an issue every single year. It's not like we're doing anything that needs to be hidden, it's just
I
a
think
process.
this line of thinking is in line with raising those $500 limits to $1,000 limits and recognizing that things can
So what
cost
you're
more.
saying is you want us to be able to do that?
I think you should be able to do
So-
that because it's a benefit to the town there, but I'd like to see it written into the policy to
Okay.
You let us
clarify
know.
how you can do it,
Yeah.
not make it look like it's, you're breaking your own policy every time you do that.
499.95.
Surplus property,
So
You
we'll
can
make
approve it the way
these,
it is now and then, come back and modify it when you come up with some
yeah.
language.
That's true. So,
That would be easier.
so why don't we approve it the way it is now, and then I'll do language that provides council with documentation, and then the, clarify how the auction process will go. Want to do that?
so do I have a motion to approve the purchasing policy as presented with the amendments, with the understanding that the town manager will bring additional amendments to us at a later time.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Next item, please, Twyla.
Order 2014-248, the tax club policy.
Diane?
I'm gonna have Jessica do that.
Oh, good. Hello.
So before you, you have a proposed tax club policy. We went over this with the finance committee at their last meeting, and they all seem to be in agreement with offering this policy to the public. And basically what a tax club policy allows is a current taxpayer in good standing to make 12 installments on their tax bills versus 2 times a year and having to come up with. So it helps the good standing taxpayer that doesn't have a mortgage or have their taxes escrowed. This allows them to budget better and helps with collection on taxes so that they can make 12 equal installments to pay their taxes versus coming up with larger sums of money twice a year and having difficulty with it. Our tax club would run from April 1st to March 31st so that we remain within our timeline for liens if something should go wrong. And the caveat with this is that the taxpayer in good standing needs to make 12 monthly on-time payments. If one is missed, they're out of the club. And basically what this allows is for their payment to be interest-free. Either they start in April and they're making 6 months worth of payment or close to it before that first installment is due, and then they start paying on the second half right after that. So it allows them to make interest-free payments for 12 months. But the minute one is missed, they're out of the tax club and interest starts. And they can't join the tax club again until the next year if they are in good standing. And that's the key component, is that you have to be current on your taxes today in order to take part in the tax club.
So if for instance, a family suffers a financial hardship, and they get behind 1 year and then they catch up, they can join the tax club again once they've caught up, and they can...
as long as we're not into the tax club.
Right.
So it would be for the next tax year.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Because the key is to get those payments 6 months in advance. That's why we don't charge the interest on the other side of it. It evens out. So we're getting their money ahead of time, which is gonna help us with a cash flow, especially in June and July when we typically have a cash flow problem. But people really like this because they can budget their tax payment. I find it easier to make car payments than buy all at once, like an escrow payment. if you have
Right.
a mortgage.
Good idea.
Don't forget about it, and then suddenly I've got this huge bill, whoops.
And then, with the system that we have, they will receive a booklet that tells them how much to pay and to remit with their payment. So, it's just like the old car payment booklets that you used to get before electronic direct deposits. But, so, they'll get an estimated vote for 6 months, and then when we commit taxes, their amounts will be readjusted for the current tax to catch them up to where they should be, pending the changes in the tax commitment. So.
Right, Diane, you've had some experience
Yes, I
with
have.
tax
It's
clubs,
been-
so, I mean, I can't remember the number of taxpayers in, let's just say 2,000 in Callis, and we had about 150 that were in the tax. That's a good amount to be in a tax club. And they came in every single month with their payment and their payment book, but they liked it. And then we recalculated the payment after we got the commitment. Sometimes it stayed the same, sometimes it either went up or down.
And we have tried to work with citizens on establishing some sort of payment, and we do have some already that pay ahead of time, but the difference is it's not an established plan, and there is interest that, if they're not paying ahead of time. So, we currently do accept prepayment of taxes, but this just allows it to be a better, more formalized plan that people can budget to, and ensure that they're not gonna get to a point where, if it's only $15 a month that they're paying, that at some point they're, you know, they're gonna fall behind. This is structured to allow them to pay in the year that's due and allow them to budget a little better to make it easier.
Do you have any discussion or questions?
That's a great idea.
Okay, so we are looking for,
Can I suggest one change before we take a vote? It says, I know it says city council, which is town
oh,
council.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Yep. So we're looking for a motion to approve the tax club policy with the change that Councilor Lund suggested.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica.
Yep.
Next item, please, Twyla.
Order 2014-249, the vehicle use policy.
Attached is a very first rough draft of a vehicle use policy, and I did send this to Dan Stockford, and he made some edits to it. And what this policy is intended to do is to provide a consistent standard for the use of town-owned vehicles. And, you know, the town here recognizes that certain employees are required to be on call, and they are allowed to take a vehicle home. And what it's gonna do is, it's intended to assure that these employees are able to have these vehicles at their disposal to fulfill their duties, while at the same time ensuring only those uses authorized by the town are permitted. So, this has been the practice of this town to allow those vehicles to go home, and we really need to have a policy in place. So this is a rough draft. It can be, you know, I welcome any edits. If you like it as presented, you can vote on it. If you need to make other changes, I can do that.
Under vehicle assignments, section B.
What? Section B disappeared? Oh. The invisible section B. So just, yes, I gotta change that to B and C, okay?
And only as a personal preference right above that, where it says he, she is off-duty, always preferred they are. She is, personal thing.
They are.
Just
Okay.
like, yeah. It's just a type of wording I.
Yep. And we don't have to worry about changing it anytime. I like the idea of having a town vehicle use policy in place, because it protects not only the town, but the folks who are those employees who have the responsibility of using town vehicles. So I like it the way it is. I don't see anything, in looking it over, I haven't seen anything that I would change right now, but I think just as with anything else, if something comes to light that we need to amend, we're certainly able to do that. Do we have any questions or discussion from council?
I just want to thank Diane for taking time to do this out of her busy schedule. I know that I've received complaints of employees using town vehicles, and I think this will resolve it, and I appreciate Diane you doing this.
Yeah, I pestered Diane about this too, so I'm glad that she followed up on that. It's definitely something that was needed.
Okay, so the recommendation is that the council approve and adopt the use of the town vehicle policy as it's presented.
With
We have a mo-
amendments.
With amendments.
I'll make the
Okay.
motion.
Second that.
As amended. Okay, all those in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Mr. Brunel, did you vote?
I do not vote.
Okay, so it's
Do we have a nay?
6-0.
A nay.
Thank you. Thank you, Twyla. Next item, please.
Order 2014-249A, solicit bids for natural gas policy.
Yes.
Our current supplier is Metro Media Energy, and that expires at the end of the year. So I would like permission to solicit bids, and we'll come back to you probably on the 18th of December with a recommendation for our natural gas supplier. This will be a first for me. I've never seen bids for natural gas.
It's very exciting.
Yes, it is, because it's a whole different language.
All right, so we're looking to give the town manager approval to ask for bids.
To solicit bids, yes.
Where is the natural gas for? I'm having a brain cramp.
This building,
This building's natural gas?
Public Works, well, then we're gonna have the MTM Center.
Yeah, I
It's
know
gonna
about
be
that one.
another one.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Oh, that's good. Is the school involved in this bid? I know they do natural gas.
That's right.
Do they have their own separate bid? Do you know? Oh, there's Rick, okay.
No, because Unitel is the one that installed our lines, and we have to go with them for 3 years, so we haven't had any contracts expire yet, but we will in the future.
Okay, thanks. All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve that the manager solicit bids for natural gas.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
7-0. Order passed.
Thank you. Next item, please, Twyla.
Under other business, the finance director's report.
Okay, so my finance report for the month of October. To summarize revenues for you, October brought in $225,604. State revenue sharing brought in $63,000, which is right in line with last year for October. Year-to-date, however, is $42,000 less than last year. This variance seems to stem from the reduced sharing in July of 2014. Our 5-year average collection rate at this point in the fiscal year is 33.3%. So for October 2014, we are only at 28.93. So hopefully we will see the state rectify. I know Diane had mentioned that there were other municipalities that were concerned with the calculation of the July revenue sharing. So hopefully we will see the state rectify those revenue sharing amounts so that we may achieve our already reduced budget of $520,000. Excise tax is 35.69% collected, with $457,000 year-to-date compared to prior year at only $435,000. Our 5-year average collection rate at this point in the fiscal year is 34.27%, so we're slightly above our average collection rate. In October, we also received our tree growth reimbursement of $12,000, and in September, we received a Betty reimbursement of $7,000. Do you have any questions for me on revenues?
I do. 02 Public Safety. For the dispatch and the animal control, do they pay on a yearly basis, or how is that?
Excuse me? Yes, it's typically quarterly, but it also is dependent on getting the billing out and timing that we have to get those bills out to them.
So we should be expecting that
Mhm.
soon.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Moving on to expenses, the total expenditures for the month of October was $671,163. The major item of interest for this month is that we made most of our annual bond and lease payments. Other than that, everything looks to be right in line with projections. And that's, at this point, all I have for expenses for the month for you, unless you have questions for me.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
All right. And I wanted to thank you, Jessica and Diane, for including the expense budget analysis for us, because that was very helpful. The next item, please, Twyla.
It's the Moxie Festival report.
You've all been given the report. I tried to simplify it so it'd be easy to read through. Basically, you can see in sponsorship, and I do certainly want to give kudos to the committee. The Moxie Festival Committee, they worked very hard and very diligently to put this festival on. It takes many hours. We could certainly use extra hands in regards to the festival, especially the size of it. As you know, the parade itself was very large, and you know, Gina, along with the few people that she had work with her, it's the same thing with sponsorship. Everything within the festival is through the donations that is raised. That's how the festival is paid for. Things are not cheap, like any event. We bring in over 50,000 people for 3 days in this community, and the economic impact on that is tremendous. Even McDonald's, they're standing out the door all the way down to the end of the road trying to get in, so it certainly is beneficial for the community. We had an upscale regarding the $1,000 sponsors, which was great. The people had stepped up. We received new sponsorship of ones that hasn't participated before. So again, they do a tremendous job, and they're out there pounding the pavement, sending out letters, resending letters, making phone calls. As you can see from the revenues, of the total revenues with them t-shirt sales, vendor fees, carnival, and sodas, it came in at $36,575. And then, just like anything, you have the expenses. So you have everything coming in is pretty much going back out again. Total expenses was $33,399.98, with a net revenue of $3,175.02. So the idea with the festival and working with the committee is try to get them so that when you're looking at an event, you really start at zero. And the idea of it is that you're raising the funds to pay for that festival. If you have some left over, then you are able to have that aside, so in case the festival does not, if something happens or for unexpected expenditures, then you have a cushion. The committee has not come before the council, nor have they come before the taxpayers as far as to ask for any assistance within the money they've raised all on their own. So, again, kudos to them.
Tracy, I think the burning question.
Yeah.
What is
The $50?
Yes.
We all know Sue Connolly, who passed away. That $50 went for flowers for her funeral.
And well spent.
Exactly.
Thank you. And then I think there was a question about t-shirt sales. I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna let you answer.
No, that's fine. With regarding the t-shirt sale, one of the things, in any event that I've been part of over the past 25 years, you've got to generate revenue to come into. We use a local business person, ADEP, makes out very well. The 5K t-shirts all come from them. The car show t-shirts come from them. The Moxie Festival t-shirts are all purchased right there. This is an opportunity to promote the festival and the community. We do a theme, which right now we're in the mix of getting new themes come in. There will be, the chosen theme will be in January, and they come from all over. They come from out of state, where people are constantly emailing in, they want to participate. From that, we go to the high school. We speak with the art teacher, and we ask them, here's our theme, and it's a contest. So it's an opportunity for a student to design the theme. So the t-shirts that we sell are festival t-shirts. They are the theme. They're not just plain Moxie t-shirts or whatever. They are the theme that goes along with the festival. And again, it helps generate and it helps pay for the festival.
Thank you. And I'm going to add to that, Tracy, because I happened to be in Mr. Anisetti's store one afternoon during the festival, and they were running out of certain t-shirts, and they sell them online, and it was a good way for the Moxie Festival to be represented online through Mr. Anisetti and his store and his promotion of Moxie products.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I wasn't feeling like we were taking profit from him so much as complimenting each other, the town and Mr. Anisetti's business. So
absolutely, and we do that all the time. I mean, we send people over to his business, and we make sure, as we're looking at vendors, that nobody is selling the same item that he is. That's replica of what he's doing. because we want him to have that business. And we encourage people to go into a store. Oh, have you been to the Moxie store? Go into there.
It's pretty crowded sometimes. All right, any other questions?
I do have a couple questions under the expenses. For entertainment, the Positive Change Lisbon Saturday concert for $1,000. Is that the committee reimbursing PCL, or does PCL have a split into that?
The band that they, was an out-of-state band. The idea of it is they wanted a big splash. They brought somebody in from Massachusetts. The cost of that was $3,000. The festival itself pays for entertainment. So what the committee had said is that we'll cut back a little bit of our entertainment and we'll put that towards help out. So we have a band that will come in and be entertaining for the community. So that was our share of our entertainment budget that went to help towards that cost.
So the other $2,000 was paid by
PCL.
Perfect.
For their sponsorship that they got, yes. In regards to the banner, I can answer that question as well. And again, we're looking at, as far as a way to market the community, and the banners were $1,000. We split that cost with PCL. It was an opportunity for us to have Moxie Festival, home of Moxie Festival, come here and not have to pay for it ourselves. But it was a shared cost. And as you can see out in the hallway by my office, there's a Moxie Orange bike rack. Again, it's promoting the community, going on the Moxie, and there will be all over the community as far as new bike racks.
On page 3, I think it's 3, on the last page I should say, of expenses, can you explain to me what ASCAP is, and then SESAC?
Those are royalties. So for any community, the municipalities, back in a day, you could hire a band or show movies or do any type of entertainment, and you could copy somebody else's. It doesn't work that way anymore. It's because the entertainment industry realized that they lose a lot of money on royalties. So now any municipality, recreation, community, festival, they have to pay for those royalties. We split that cost with PCL because they have the concerts and we have the Moxie Festival. So again, instead of one group paying for the full amount for those fees, it's split.
Everyone who plays music has to pay those fees. They're the music mob.
So, and again, because if most groups, they're cover bands, so they're playing somebody else's music. So they come back on the municipality and they charge you for it. So if you pay that little bit or you get fined, we prefer not to be fined over that.
As a committee, have you guys sat down and kind of gone over wins and opportunities from the festival, and what's going on next year? Any sort of certain direction you're going in?
Yeah, we always look into kind of add things, and I can certainly answer the Dot questions because we just had a meeting as far as yesterday in that regard. The committee is really looking at, we want to do a whole artisans of Maine artists and highlight on that. So we are one up in regards to, we're already looking at hitting the craft fairs and talking with the artisans, and we're putting together a committee that's going to be working on that. But again, it's the manpower. The committee is probably only about, I don't know, maybe 8 people. And you've been to the festival and you see all of the things that goes on, there's not very many people to work on that. They've tried for quite some time to get more people involved, and it just needs people to kind of help out. So that is something that we want to do. We're looking at putting that up at MTM, and just as another addition as far as the festival, really hone in as far as our main artisans.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any questions?
More questions or discussion from council? Thank you.
Welcome.
The next item, 12.
Superintendent Green.
I'm going to introduce Superintendent Green's presentation, with a brief explanation, because I want him to have the time he needs. Monday, yeah, that was yesterday. Council Pesky and I decided to attend the press conference that was held by the folks who are in opposition to the school committee's decision. We went to the Regency in Portland for a couple hours. We were there to hear what they had to say, but more importantly, we were there because we represent the town of Lisbon, and we wanted to make sure that the town of Lisbon was not misrepresented at that press conference. At that conference, I was invited to give a statement, which I did. I'll read you that statement. It was brief. It was boring and truthful, and it didn't make the news. So it does make the news for us. The Lisbon Town Council has been advised that under Maine law, the Lisbon School Committee is responsible for managing the schools in Lisbon, including the selection of a contractor to build the new gym at Lisbon High School. Regardless of how we as individual councilors may feel about the school committee's decision, the town council does not have the authority to reverse or interfere with that decision. It is my hope that the school committee will offer the public some clarity as to why the decision was made in order to move forward as a town and in the spirit of transparency. At a different time during that press conference, I reiterated the desire of the council to have clarity from the school committee and the superintendent so that we could move forward and not have this dark mark on our town. The school committee represents the town just as the town represents the school at times. And it's not just legally, but in the effort to maintain our good face, our good town in the public view. As a result, we have, well, not a direct result, but Mr. Green, even before that meeting, had offered to come to our meeting tonight to offer that clarity that we've asked for. Councilor Pesky and I met with Superintendent Green and the chair and vice chair of the school committee, along with the town manager, before tonight's meeting, in order to get everything out, put everything on the table. How do we feel? It was an honest discussion, and it was heated at times, and that's a good thing because it means that everybody cares. And I think that we, regardless of the opinions that we are voicing for our constituents, maintain our stand as a council that we do not have authority over the school committee. But I believe that Mr. Green has information and clarification for us tonight that will help to answer those questions and help to put people at ease with the decision that the school committee has come to. Mr. Green?
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be on the agenda this evening. On behalf of the Lisbon School Department, I'm here this evening to provide an update and answer any questions that you may have related to the recent bid protest that was filed against the school committee's decision to select the second lowest bid for the construction of the new high school gymnasium. Since the decision was made on October 28th, the Lisbon School Department has been put on the defensive and been required to respond to allegations of illegal and unethical wrongdoing by individuals and leaders of special interest groups. My reason for being here tonight is not to change any of your opinions, but to again address these allegations and provide the residents and local taxpayers with documentation and the reasoning behind the decision. If I've learned anything over the last couple of weeks, I've learned that unlike many people, including myself, who have committed a significant amount of time and energy to see the construction of a new gymnasium become a reality, this is simply just another opportunity for many people to make money. Many of whom I've heard from, and many of you've heard from, and many of the people who've seen the news and read the newspaper, that's who you've heard from. As many of you know, the Lisbon School Committee voted to approve the second lowest bidder for this project. The biggest question so far has been why. As I shared with you in an email in response to one of the, I believe I've been contacted by 8 people so far. As I shared with you in that email, you will see from my affidavit that I've included in that packet that there were specific details shared by our architects upon completion of the actual opening of the bids. The following details were shared with members of the school committee prior to their decision. The first was that the 2 bids were very close. They were less than 1/3% difference. The company the school committee selected had significantly more public school and public building experience. They listed over 8 projects in their application. Now, I don't have permission from our architects to share with you all the different gymnasium projects that that particular contractor has done, but if you would like to come into my office, I'd be more than happy to show anyone the different projects that the contractor that we selected has completed. The company the school committee selected had better on-time and on-budget references for completing recently or for recently completed projects. And the last piece is what the one piece that I was quoted on is our architect had worked with both companies and shared with us that they had a better working relationship with the company that the school committee selected. There have been multiple figures reported to the public in the press indicating the difference between the 2 bids. The highest one is $75,731. When in actuality, if you look at I did include a copy of the bid overview as the first handout, first paper. When actually the difference with all of the alternatives is only $17,136. If you look at the overview and you add the base bid and alternate 5, which was critical to our decision, the actual difference is only $16,701, which you cannot, the special interest groups have been pushing the $75,000, but you cannot accept, you cannot neglect the fact that there was a negative number on an alternative 5 and a $57,000 increase on the alternate, because you have to combine those two, because we would still need the traffic pattern, and that was critical in the decision. Because we had public safety and stuff come to us and say, we really are opposed to you changing the traffic pattern in front of the high school to 2-way. And that was something that did come up in our conversations. Again, I have enclosed a copy of all the bid results form that we created for you to review. Another thing I wanted to point out with the alternatives, people are asking, I can't believe that Superintendent Green and the school committee are willing to spend $17,000 more than going with the low bid. We specifically pulled those alternatives out of the actual bid papers because we know that we can do better, or felt we could do better on those alternates, and so as a result we pulled those out of there. So a perfect example is that we have a vendor who we have a contract through, or we've done a lot of work with, that told us specifically, do not add the gym equipment into your bid, because all they're going to do is they're going to contact me as one of the largest retailers in the state. They're going to contact me, they're going to buy it from me, and they're going to charge you 20% more. And he's told us what the cost. So we pulled that out of there. The smoke curtains, actually, we pulled those out because that's an option, a safety option. Those numbers are actually a lot higher than what our architects had put into the budget. So we also feel that we could go out to somebody who actually installs those and have those installed for, I mean, when you're looking at $100,000, $110,000 bids or quotes, something was missed because our architects, I believe, estimated those costs at $10,000. So if members of the community or members of the council are questioning $17,000, I can assure you that even with the second alternative with the gym equipment, we would have been able to save that amount of money, if not more, just on that alternate. Many people are concerned about the potential litigation and possible lawsuits that may result from this decision. A lot of that has come from the press we received from the special interest groups who are threatening legal action. I've actually included a copy of our bidding and purchasing requirement policy that clearly states, and this was shared with the contractor who is has put in a court order injunction on our project. No vendor shall have any enforceable rights against the school unit based upon this policy or alleged violations of this policy. So there's no legal action that they can take against us. And they were given this prior to filing the injunction, or their attorneys were given this as well. And that's important because I know that people are worried about lawsuits, and in this case we are protected. There have been multiple comments related to the requirement to select the lowest bid. As you can see from the affidavit from our attorney, it's actually on page 7, last paragraph, the terms competitive bidding and pre-qualification have no impact on our right to consider other factors that impact what the school committee feels is in the best interest of this project. And that is clearly stated in our affidavit, and it's also, you can read, because I know there are a lot of comments about the fact that all the contractors were pre-qualified. All that allows you to do, as you will read, it allows you to bid. It doesn't guarantee that because you're the lowest bid that your bid has to be accepted. There's nothing in statute and there's nothing in our policies, nothing in the bid that says we have to take low bid. It says in general that we have to take, we would take the low bid, and that is not in this case. Personally, throughout this ordeal, the most difficult issues that I've had to deal with is the tactics that have been used through the use of the press and the social media. In the original News 8 broadcast, during my interview, they shared one of my statements, that the reason that we had selected the second lowest bidder was because of the relationship they had with the architect. They immediately followed that with, not true. We spoke with the architect, and the architect said that he would work with both vendors. Well, of course he will. They have a future, but they're going to end up having multiple projects with this. They weren't asked, which one did you prefer? They were asked, would you work with both of them? As you can see in the enclosed affidavits from myself and our business manager, the details related to this conversation are provided. There were also 2 other people in the room. One was actually our owner's representative, who was more than willing to come in here and speak with you, and more than willing to provide a statement that clearly states that the preference from our architects was to go with the second lowest bid. Another example, which is the worst, in my opinion, thing that I had to deal with, was an apology. I gave you a copy of the apology from the Sun Journal in regard to a quote that the lowest bid contractor made in the paper when he filed the bid protest, that he said that I had a conversation with him and I said, we can do whatever we want. And then the social media exploded. If anybody knows me, 1, I would never say anything like that, and 2, I've never had a conversation with this person. I've answered emails, but I never formally talked to this individual. Unfortunately, the only retraction that I get is that email, and at the bottom of the article, they did remove the quote the next day and put a little note at the bottom online, but not in the paper. And to me, that is just one of the tactics that's been difficult because I've been on the defensive from the get-go. And some of you are asking, well, why didn't we have this information before? We've been dealing with our attorneys, we've been under guidance from our attorneys. Now that it's gone to court, we filed our affidavits, that's all public knowledge now, so now I can talk about it. We're hoping to have a court hearing this week, and I hope that we can get this resolved one way or the other. As I mentioned before, the Lisbon School Department has again been on the defensive throughout this ordeal, and I apologize, sincerely apologize to all of you, everyone in this room, and the residents of this community for the attention that this has brought to the town. We are hoping to have a decision made this week, and then we will be ready to begin work on building an exciting and well-deserved gymnasium for the Lisbon High School. As always, please feel free to contact me directly if you have any questions related to this matter. Members of the school committee have been asked by our council to direct all questions, comments to me. And up until today, I literally only had 8 people, 2 members from the community, mostly subcontractors who have an interest in this because they would lose the job if we don't switch over to the lowest bid. And I did get one phone call this morning, which was pretty belligerent and threatening, And we did have caller ID, and I do have the Lisbon Police looking into that. Other than that, I've met with Councilor Tivier, met with individuals who are in this room, but I have not had, and I apologize, have not had the negative experiences that you've had. We've actually had quite a bit of support for making this decision. So again, I apologize to everyone here, everyone in this community. This isn't what we intended. We made a decision based on what we felt was the best decision for this project. And it's not just a project to us, definitely not me. This is a gymnasium that I've been here 13 years for, talked about it, and people who've been here longer. I want to make sure it's perfect. And I'm not just going to go with somebody who says they want it, that they'll do the best job. I went with the people that I had facts on that I felt could do the best job. I shouldn't even say I.
Thank you, Mr. Green. We had the opportunity, as I stated earlier, in our leadership meeting, to talk with the school leadership. And Mr. Green, I asked a specific question that you answered very well for me, and I would like to ask it again so that you can clarify this for those who are out there wondering about this. There seems to be a haziness on the definition of the pre-qualification process. Can you clarify that for us?
Yeah, on page 7 of the affidavit from our attorneys, there's two pieces. One, the pre-qualified bidder. The statement is that this argument is incompatible with the instructions to bidders, which, as discussed above, expressly permitted defendants to use their discretion to accept the bid that they believed was in their own best interest. The pre-qualification process merely weeds out bidders who are obviously unqualified. Unqualified bidders and, pre-qualification saves time, money, and effort by eliminating obviously unqualified bidders and is generally based on tangible and objective criteria such as work experience, size, net worth, equipment, etc. Determined responsibility is different because it involves more qualitative and less quantitative considerations. Therefore, the fact that all of the bidders were pre-qualified has no impact on the defendant's reserved right to consider other factors that impact whether the award is in the defendant's best interest.
Do we have any questions from council for Mr. Green?
Yeah, I do. You was talking about as far as the legal fees and whatnot that they're gonna take. Can you give us an idea of what you think you're gonna pay in legal fees to fight this, to defend this?
I don't, but I will say that one of the things, because it was a project already ongoing, is the attorneys that were, not the attorney you saw on the news last night. He's new, but generally Bill Stockmeyer is our attorney for all these matters. For instance, the performance contract, financing for all that. I don't have any idea what it will cost, but I can. That was another question: is are we going to be? How much legal fees are you going to spend on this? I have had a legal fee account for years that I've never used. To be honest, the reason why they have security systems, all the doors, there's been uniforms and stuff that I've purchased through that. This will be the first year that I have to use it, but it's mostly because of all the advice that we have to get in regard to the financing piece was pretty expensive. But I don't have an amount, but I will be more than happy to share it with you. It's going to be we'll have to break it down because it's the same people, so I have to look closely at why they logged in hours. But again, it's not, it wasn't an expense that I anticipated. But I do have enough money in my legal account to take care of it.
Another question, on this alternate 5, is this a definite thing that you will be going with, regardless who you use?
No. The alternate 5 is, you can only use that when you compare both of the lowest bids. So when the decision's made, then we wouldn't have to go with that potentially if we are forced to go with the low bid. But when you compare the two, apples to apples, you have to add that alternate 5 because that makes the bids makes them a level playing field.
Bottom line is it $17,000 difference?
If you just use alternate 5 in the base bid, it's actually $16,701.
And that's what
$17,136 if you add all the alternates of all the projects. Which, when you compare $17,000 to $25,000, it's significant. when you compare 17,000 to 5.7 million, it's, you know, it's not, it's, like I
So
said,
if you
it's a
do end
third.
up going with Ledgewood, it'll only be a $16,000 difference,
If we just do those two alternatives, correct, yeah.
if you do them.
If we just choose to go those two alternatives, because I know that the alternative two, I know we can more than likely beat that one out. And alternative one, at least one member of the school committee has said that they feel that that seems really high.
So you don't know if you're even gonna do those other ones or not yet?
No, that's why I pulled them out, because I knew I could save money. The project was starting to get pretty expensive, because when they gave us their original prices, and when we actually started going out for bid, things had changed. And so the numbers our architects were giving us were over 5.7. And so we wanted to pull some alternatives out of there, just so we could have a better understanding of what it was gonna cost.
Thank you.
But again, I'm hoping for a decision this week. And we can move on from there.
So not likely they'll be ready for graduation 2015?
Although it's been busy the last couple of weeks, I think I mentioned to you when we met, graduation was going to be a stretch to begin with, because the timeline was pushed to August, shortly after we went to a referendum. However, because the gymnasium is a square, a lot of the work is the renovations underneath the existing gym. We were told we might be able to get a occupancy permit for graduation and just hold graduation there. It may not be done yet, but we might be able to do that. They should be able to they originally told us that they were going to be 2 weeks putting everything together, and even if it's resolved this week, then it's going to be close to us start. We were hoping to break ground in November, so if it's early December, then we might be a week or so off.
Thank you.
Mr. Green, I
clarify just on that too. We have notified and did notify at the beginning of the school year the graduating class to let them know, even prior to any of this, that there was a possibility that they would not be able to host it. They had made arrangements at the end of last year anyway, just because of the nature of construction. So they were aware, and we have been aware way prior to this.
Right, and they could actually cancel the place, I think it's the Armory, said that they could cancel last minute if needed.
Okay. Mr. Green, I think Councilor Mativier asked for the legal fees. If you could make sure that you get that to us, I think
Yeah,
that it's one of those things that will help clarify for council, because you know, as we stated earlier, and as we discussed in our meeting just prior to this meeting, the council has heard, individual councilors, some more than others, have heard a lot of negative things about it. What came out in our meeting was that the school committee and the superintendent were hearing positive things, and the council were hearing the negative things. So we were hearing the two different sides of the story, and it's good to have you here tonight to clarify the issue for our common constituency.
I have one question, Mr. Reed. Could you forward us a copy of the plaintiff's motion, just so we know what their side is? Because we have your response to their side, but I haven't seen a copy of their side, so I just want to know the whole story.
I'll have to ask. I'll have to ask
from our copy of it.
So you want
their motion that your motion is in opposition to?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to see a copy of that so I can, give it to the people who want the whole story.
Okay. So the plaintiff, I think it's stated in the attorney one.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have an actual copy.
Yeah, if you can get an actual copy of it, I'd just like to see that.
Yep, I should be able to do that. So plain news. Yep. Email?
Yep, email is fine.
Everyone?
If you send it to the town manager, that you'll be send it to one person.
You'll be here tomorrow?
And again, Mr. Green, I want to thank you for taking the time to put together a presentation for everyone. This has been the elephant in the living room for many of us. And we've wanted to have some clarity on it and be able to respond positively. And I think you've answered a lot of the questions that a lot of people have asked. And again, as in the past, I urge folks to speak with you, to call you, to email you, if they have any questions, whether they're negative or positive, because I think that the understanding has been that if you don't agree with the school, then go to the council, and that's not really how it works. It's just like when the council does something people don't agree with, both people who agree and don't agree have to see us, and it's the same thing with you. Thanks very much for the time and effort that you put into this for us. We appreciate it. And the next item, please, Twyla.
Is the town manager's report?
I have a few things. We did go out to bid and requested proposals for the Beaver Park furnace. And I'm pleased to report that the low bid came in under $10,000, so I don't have to bring it back to council, but I just wanted to let you know that Goslin Mechanical Services out of Lisbon came in at $9,192.49 for a gas furnace. So, which is good. And we had about $11,535 to spend on it, so we'll have some money left over. I had sent you earlier in the week some information on the municipal officer's role and the treasurer's role when it comes to tax liens and foreclosures, tax acquired property. The reason I sent you that information is because we're going to have to deal with some foreclosed properties. We're going through the process right now of the automatic foreclosure. I don't know what the end result's going to be, but what I have found that a few years ago, the council, I believe it was in 2008, authorized the waiver of foreclosure on several properties. A lot of them were mobile homes, and there was even one way back on a business. In order for that process to stop, because it's automatic, is the waivers have to be recorded in the registry of deeds prior to the foreclosure. That did not occur. All the originals were still in the file here at the building, and they never got recorded at the registry. So I contacted Dan Stockford, even though I kind of knew what the answer would be, but I wanted to be sure. And unless we fail to notify the property owner and any interested parties, including mortgage holders or anybody that had an interest in the party that would have filed a lien, if we had not done that process, we could start over now and do that. But we did do it. And because we did it, we've actually foreclosed on these properties. So we're going to have to deal with that. I don't have, Haley's working on it with me. I'll bring a list to you. So if there was some foreclosures that we didn't really want to foreclose on this year, which there was one that I really didn't want to, we've already done it. So I'll have, at the next meeting in December, I will bring a list to you and a plan of how I think we should proceed. But it was the failure to record those, and that's, you have to by statute. That's the only way to stop the process. So that's why I wanted you to see what your roles are now after the process, so that you are aware of what you need to do. And it's, you know, it's really technical. It's you know, it's important to be well versed in that when you go through the process. Just like the tax collector has to make sure that the lien process is started and turned over to the treasurer, which I am now the treasurer and the tax collector both. But this happened a few years ago. But anyway, it is what it is, and we'll deal with it in the way we can. On a good note, the Public Works Garage, most of that work has been completed. Ryan is just putting together the remainder of the amounts, and it looks like we're going to have in excess of $150,000 left over from that project, because we managed the project and a lot of our employees did the work. So they really need to be commended, Dennis, Ryan, and his employees, and for the contractors that they went out and got to finish the project, to do the electrical, plumbing, and so forth. So we're going to come back to you probably on the meeting on the 16th, not the 18th, I guess, in December, and probably have a plan for how we want to spend that. Because if you recall, we wanted to add an addition on. So Ryan will have a plan for that.
And the final thing is Twyla needs to do the return of the votes cast during the recount that took place yesterday.
Yes, so with your final approval, we'd like to file the recount tabulation. The results after hand counting 4,131 ballots came out to Gina Mason, received 34 write-in votes, and Dean Willie received 14 write-in votes. There were 3,879 blank votes and no disputed ballots. Gina was notified that she'd be sworn into office on December the 2nd at your council meeting.
Is that a 2 or 3 year term?
3-year term.
Okay, so we need a motion, Twyla, to accept the voting results.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of certifying the results?
Order pass, 7-0. Thank you.
All right, the next item, please.
Audience participation for new items.
All right, this is the audience participation item for folks who'd like to speak on an item that has not been discussed on the agenda.
Don Phillips from the Lisbon side of things. This item is not on the agenda, although I think you should put it on a future one. And that is a public hearing and second reading of the sign ordinance. I think you might have neglected to do that tonight, but I'm not sure if it was automatic.
Is it automatic? Hearing.
2 weeks anyway from now.
I think it is automatic. I think Jody takes care of that after the.
But now we'll make sure.
Now it's in the public, you're going to have it then.
Thank you, Don. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Mr. Cody?
Roger Cody, Lisbon. After the Moxie Festival, I happened to run into a couple of the people that have businesses right in the little mall, Lisbon Falls, with the dollar store, there's the restaurant and what have you. One thing that I learned was that after the Moxie Festival, that parking lot has to be cleaned. And the bill is sent to the people of that mall, the businesses of that mall. And it's a big expense. A lot more than I even anticipated it could possibly be. We shut their business down virtually for a day and a half with the fireworks and what have you. And then we turn around and slap them with a big bill to clean up the parking lot. Now, I don't know if we have a sweeper or not, but maybe in years to come, maybe we ought to look into kind of giving these people a break. They are, they're merchants in town that are good enough to lose the business of their facilities and then turn around and get slapped with a big bill for cleaning the parking lot for the Moxie Festival. I think it's a little bit of an insult. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Mr. Cody. Sir?
Diane, can Public Works do that, or would that fall under the same thing as snow plowing?
It's private property.
Private
Let me
property.
look into it, okay?
Okay, no, we can't plow private property.
No, I know. Right.
We could probably make some kind of a mutual agreement where, we're renting their parking lot and, paying them in kind cost or something. I mean, the public's getting a service there, it's not like plowing your side.
I think we can work something out for that one. We'll do it in the right way,
Yep.
so that it doesn't set a precedent.
Thank you for the right way.
All right, do we have anyone else who'd like to speak? All right, the next item, please, Twyla.
Council's response to new business.
All right, I think,
I really do.
thank you, Roger. Okay, and the next item.
Is appointments. Order 2014-250, appoint the Recreation Committee, one regular member.
Okay.
We have one application.
An application from Mr. Ward from Plummer Street. Is Mr. Ward here this evening? Okay. Do we have a recommendation from the Recreation Committee? Well.
Any
Do you want to say
relation?
something, Mr. Fellows? No relation to me, that I know of.
I
happen to know Alan Ward from many years ago as a Boy Scout. He was an Eagle Scout. His father was a troop master, and I know that, I haven't seen him since then, but I know he was, at that time, a quite reputable and involved person. But I haven't seen him in many years.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. All right,
Alan is still involved. He's involved in LJAL. He still does Eagle Scouts and Boy Scouts, and he's what, I don't know the technical term, is it a master? Eagle Scout master or whatever. So he is still in the community, still has roots here, and is involved.
great, thank you. Okay, so,
I'll make the motion to accept Mr. Ward.
Second.
a second, so, all those in favor of accepting Mr. Ward as a recreation committee member?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you. Does he know? Okay.
He had to submit it.
Okay.
Assuming that's his signature.
The next item, please, Luella.
Order 2014-251, appoint civil constable Sean Scully. Term expiring June 30, 2015.
So we have the information from the surety company and the insurance and so forth. And this is just so we have a civil constable for the upcoming year, right? Is this the same person who did it before? I don't remember.
Yeah, I believe this is with,
Okay.
he's with ACE.
All right, just to explain to the public, he is with the ACE Detectives and Security Agency in Lisbon. Any discussion by council? There are lots of official seals and things on this paperwork. Okay, so, I'm looking for a motion to appoint Sean Scully as a civil constable with a term expiring June 30th, 2015. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Thank you. And the next item, please.
Order 2014-252 to accept Associate Planning Board Member resignation from Tyler Galletti.
Okay. Mr. Galletti has sent a note to the planning board stating that he felt that being on the planning board was a conflict of interest for his business, and we appreciate his candor and bringing that to our attention. Do we have any discussion by council? I think it's pretty straightforward. Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the associate planning board member resignation from Tyler Galletti?
I'll make that motion.
And a second.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
We'll have to make sure to advertise for that position.
Yes.
If anybody's interested in the planning board, make sure to sign up.
All right. And the next item, please, Twyla.
Council communications?
All right. All right.
I need, I gotta explain it to the council first. The Conservation Committee and Trails Committee combined. And me and Mr. Lawrence come up with an idea to help elderly and maybe the disabled that would like to go see the trail, do it. And we came up with an idea, and I would like the council to give me permission to represent the town, so we would like to buy, we're not gonna buy it, we're either gonna get donated, or we're gonna go off for grants, right, off for businesses.
Or steal it?
Yeah, I'll steal it,
Yeah,
whichever.
that's what you said.
You're gonna appropriate it.
Appropriate. So I can go and do that and see what I can do. I do know quite a few of the businesses that do that, so I might be able to get, and I do know Polaris does have a division that gives stuff away. They might even purposely build something for it. So I would like to have permission from the town council to represent the town in that, so I can go and try to do it. It will not cost the town taxpayer 1 cent.
Okay, I think the first thing that comes to mind, for me, I think it's a great idea because, it opens up that outdoor opportunity to even more people. But the second thing that comes to mind for me are insurance questions. And, I wonder if we could get those answered by Diane ahead of time.
Because I discussed it with you, and I don't think there's a problem with it.
I don't think so, but I'll verify it. So if
Okay.
you wanted to, vote, as long as all of you, are in agreement, he can represent you, as long as you all are on the same page, because he would be representing you as a whole. And then I'll verify with the insurance, make sure that there's no issues.
Basically, it would be Barilla and maybe one of her employees that would be doing it all the time.
Yeah, right.
You wouldn't have anybody just driving.
This is for side-by-side four-wheel.
Yeah, a four-seater, and it might end up being a golf cart with four-seat.
But it'd be donated to the town,
It
right?
would be donated to the town, it would be the town's.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll look for a motion to accept Mr. Bickford's generous offer to do that search for us and, at the same time, making sure that we check with insurance. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Well, we've got 7 down.
Thank you for coming up with that and bringing it to us, Roger. And do we have any other council communications?
I do. That's okay. I first want to congratulate Gina on her recount victory to the school board seat. That's exciting. But I also want to take a moment to thank the citizens of Lisbon and the contractors that have contacted me in regard to the Lisbon School Committee's recent decision to award the general contractor bid, not to the low bidder. I have heard from a lot of people, and I really want you guys to understand, I am rest that I appreciate you taking time. It takes a lot for somebody to pick up a phone and call. It's easy to voice your opinion, but it's not always easy to make a phone call. So, thank you. I also want you to know that through our conversations, I didn't only hear about school-related matters for the gym. I heard about other concerns. I also heard about concerns from the municipal side of things. And I want you to know that I will represent your concerns in the appropriate format, in the appropriate discussion at later times. I also hope after tonight's meeting that there is some clarity and there is some transparency brought to the town of Lisbon and the Lisbon citizens and the elected body that deserves the transparency. And I'm not speaking for the council, I'm speaking for myself. I have took a lot of concerns. I've only had one person contact me that knew I was against the operation of the Lisbon School Committee, that was for their decision. We agree to disagree, and that's okay. But I urge others that are concerned and do want to call me, feel free. But I do hope the Lisbon School Committee and the administration will take the time and the chance to educate the people and be transparent with this decision. When I went to the Lisbon School Committee meeting last Monday, I stayed until the end of the meeting. I think it was approximately 10 minutes of 10 when the school committee came out of executive session for the second time. I was standing with Councilor Ward and Councilor Mativia. Two school board members came out and I asked a simple question in regarding their special meeting at the superintendent's office, regarding their motion, whatever they had to award the general contractor. The minutes are very vague. The meeting was not held here. It was not recorded. It was not recorded audio. That has been available to me so far. So I asked a question. I said, when you guys took your vote, was that to sign a contract or was that just vote to award the general contractor? I simply got no comment. No comment. And I hope the Lisbon School Committee, and I hope the Superintendent's Office, they take that very serious. No person in this community deserves to get the comment that I got, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times from 2 school board members. The citizens deserve better. We deserve transparency. I hope the school board acts. I hope the superintendent's office acts and gives the community what they deserve.
Order, please. Thank you, Councilor Bresky. I was there. I could tell that Councilor Bresky was very disturbed. I have to agree that the actions were disrespectful. I will say that we have brought that those actions to the attention of the chair and the vice chair, so that we can hopefully make sure that these sorts of things don't happen again. I would hope that we would continue forward in a respectful manner at all times, from both committees, from both boards. So that being said, it's tough when you feel disrespected, but it's also tough to move forward, and I have a feeling it'll be just as difficult for the other folks involved. If there are no other communications from other councilors, I do have a brief communication. As you all know, this is my last full meeting as a councilor. I have a couple notes because these are the issues that have been very important to me. They're not all the issues that have been important to me, and they're not all the issues that I've worked hard on. But as I have been thinking about the past year, or 2 years, or 3 years, these issues are at the forefront of my thoughts. The energy saving project that the council has worked on with the school department, and we've all worked long and hard to make that happen. It's a good example of how our town can save money by having the school and the town work together to find savings. This project not only assures that we get needed repairs and updates made to town and school facilities, but that we'll do it in a way that will offer energy and cost savings down the line. It's a long-term project that has a long-term positive effect for the town of Lisbon. We worked very long and hard. It was a lot of new information for many councilors, and I have to say that it was a really good experience to work on that project with the school committee and the council. Budget season, I've seen 3 of them. We traditionally consider this to be something the manager started up sometime in the late winter, early fall, early spring, and the council would take up in the spring after that. I think in the past year, we've seen a shift by everyone on the council to begin that process much earlier. We've always talked about it, but I see in each council meeting that we've had, since our new town manager especially, that we are consistently and constantly looking for ways to save and ways to make not only next budget better, but to make the current budget as strong as possible, and to find the savings wherever we can. I think it's important that the council be involved earlier, and I'm glad to see it, that we're continually working on the budget even after it's been adopted. We know that anytime we can find savings for the residents and taxpayers of Lisbon, we should, and that just because we budgeted for something doesn't mean we have to spend it. I've also had the opportunity to work on the solid waste futures for the town of Lisbon. That's a relatively new project per se. But during our last budget season, we discussed options for savings and for creating revenues. The pay-as-you-throw idea was offered up by our interim manager, and although it was not immediately viable, we're taking a second look at it. A small committee made up of myself, Councilors Pesky and Lunt, and Manager Barnes have committed to looking at this option for Lisbon. We're following the progress of other towns in Maine, the research that's currently in progress, and discovering options and variants that may be suitable for Lisbon. We already know that many areas of solid waste can produce revenues, and we want to see what kind of balance and benefits this can offer for Lisbon, if any. We've just begun to explore the fit for Lisbon, and I look forward to bringing more information to the council and the public on this in the coming months. The town manager, I guess that's not actually a project, it's a person. But the past year has been a tough one for this council. The council as a whole made an extremely difficult decision and worked hard to find a manager to fit our needs. We saw the effect that decision had on the town employees and the town as a whole, and we had a chance to see that everyone was up to the challenges that represented. The council put their minds to moving forward to bring us to the place we are now. Diane Barnes is the manager who represents that hard work today. She represents the strong work ethics and management skills that will serve this town well. The town office and town employees are undergoing a period of change for the better. Diane's experience and proven leadership are what we need to find the savings, efficiencies, and revenues that Lisbon needs and that the taxpayers expect. There's something that came to mind, not just when Amanda was here, but a town planner was added to our town team, as it were, during my short time on the council. We brought on that town planner, and the decision's already proven its worth. We have a clearer vision for the future of Lisbon and a determination to make things happen. We have a clarity of purpose that become that have become strengths for the community, helping to build that future step by step. I was a strong supporter of having a planner for our town before we had one, and I continue to support those efforts because we can see on a month-by-month basis the benefits of having Amanda working with our town team. As any who've served on this council know, the challenges are many and often unexpected. I've worked countless hours, made many phone calls, written even more emails. I've listened to those I serve to the very best of my ability, and I've worked hard to earn their trust. In these seats here on the council, we're subject to ridicule, we're condemned, and often cruelly criticized because we are in positions of responsibility. My skin is thicker now, although it's not showing, but my resolve is stronger. My goals have always been to be as fair as possible, to think critically, and to act with compassion. Serving the people of Lisbon with the full breadth of my experience and education, along with the dedication and commitment they deserve, has been an honor. And the next item, Twyla.
I would just real quick like to thank Lisa for your service to the town of Lisbon and taking on the responsibility of vice chair your second year, and you took the chair position this year. It was not an easy year, that's for sure. I know you've been dragged through the mud more than one time. That hasn't been an easy journey. A lot of people might not see that from the public, but I appreciate your leadership and leading the council.
I appreciate that, Councilor. Thank you. And the next item
is an order to adjourn.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Second that.
All those in favor?
Order passes.
You are not opposed.
Yes, I am. I'm opposed. I want to stay for another hour.
Sir, how you doing? No, well,
So only vote, the vote was 6-1, remember that.
you gave us one match. Once you're on the tax side, now she's just still like, almost, and so leaves and everything.